What is the likely next move for Bitcoin? That's what I want to talk about in today's video. I have an idea of where this market could be going, and I want to share that with you guys and explain exactly why I think that. Now, with Bitcoin, obviously, we've been very sideways here ever since March of this year. So for months now, the market has been very sideways. And look, I know a lot of people on X get upset when I talk about a bearish scenario for this market, but the truth is, when you look at this here, first of all, it has been very sideways. It's also been carving lower highs and lower lows. So even though this has been mostly sideways, you can see where for the most part, we have had these lower highs and we've had these lower lows. So if you're talking about a bearish scenario here, this is essentially what the market has done ever since March. So there's nothing to get upset about. It's just a fact of the chart. Now, looking back here, if you guys saw my posts on X, I keep wanting to call them tweets, but if you guys saw my post when the market was back here in this area, then you know I was looking for a retest of 63.3. In fact, I was talking about a sweep of this area up here, a sweep of this high, and a sweep above 63.3. Now, the reason for that is because not only is 63.3 a significant level here for BTC, but also there was liquidity that had built up above this high. And you can even see that just with the price action here, because this candle right back here, okay, this breakdown candle, there was a very shallow retrace on this candle right here, okay? So we didn't even see a full retest of 63,300 on this candle. And again, this was a very aggressive move, which meant there was an inefficiency up here for Bitcoin that was satisfied during this price action. So if you guys saw those posts, you know that even when the market was back here, I was looking for a move up here, sweep 63.3, and then potentially get a failure from there for a move down here toward 53. Okay. In fact, I even had a post where I had an arrow going like this here up toward, above 63.3 and then down here toward 53. So, I mean, so far we've gotten that exact move, and the trigger for this latest short, guys, in case you're wondering, this up here, this buy side fake out, some people call it a deviation fake out, it's all the same. But the trigger here for this was this close back below, and then we got a retest, not exactly, but a retest of that area. So this right here, though, this close below is what confirmed this up here as a buy side fake out. Now, going forward, you can see where the market obviously had a very significant move lower. We got a retest of this area down here at 58K, which is clearly support for Bitcoin. And now the question is, where do we go from here? All right, so a couple of things to consider. A few things, actually. The first one being this trend line here off of the daily closing price down here. You've got lows like this through here, this low, and now some retest as new resistance. So the bottom line here is, as long as Bitcoin is below this trend line on the higher time frames, I do like the idea of a move lower toward 53K. Now, the reason 53K, and I've talked about this too on X, but if you look at the weekly chart, okay, what you'll notice here is that we have a very long lower wick from this candle a few weeks ago, okay? So this lower wick was never really filled in fully, okay, based on this wick right here. Now, a lot of times you won't see a wick get filled completely. However, you do typically see at least a 50% fill of that wick. In fact, if you look back here, all of these wicks on the weekly, every single one of these had at least a 50% fill. Even this right here, we had a 50% fill down here on this candle before the market moved higher. Same thing up here, right? This upper wick, 50% fill right here. Even this one, which wasn't even what I would call, a long upper wick, did get filled over here on this candle. So this happens time and time again. And this down here, this aggressive move on the weekly, we call this an imbalance and efficiency. There are lots of different names for it, but the bottom line is that there is open liquidity sitting down here around 53K, and markets seek liquidity, okay? So knowing that, we know that they seek liquidity. They targeted liquidity up here in this area, right, above this recent high, and now we have liquidity down here around 53K. Now, it just so happens that the 50% of this candle right here on the weekly comes in right here at 53,300, which is also this candle's low. So personally, I think that this is Bitcoin's next stop, okay? This is the most likely next move for Bitcoin. And again, this idea is going to be in play as long as Bitcoin remains below this trend line up here, okay? So if we see Bitcoin get below 57,500, this area right through here, this is going to be the trigger for that move lower, in my opinion. All right, so get a daily close down here in this area. We're looking at a move down here toward the 53K area. And of course, alternatively, if we were to see the market bounce from here and reclaim this area, and especially 63.3, this area up here, then that of course would be bullish for BTC. But given what we've seen here over the past few months and also the price action in front of us, and the fact that this down here is open liquidity, I do think that this is the most likely next move here for BTC. Now, what we get from there, I know a lot of people on X are asking, what do I think we get after we get 53K? And to be honest with you guys, I mean, trading is hard enough as it is. Trying to get one move right, there's no sense in trying to, think 2 or 3 or 4 steps ahead of the market. We'll have to see what we get down here at 53K if we get it. It all depends on how the market reacts down here. If it can hold above trend lines like this, and this might be kind of crude here, but this trend line down here, as long as the market can hold above areas like this down here, right around 48K, then I think we have a good chance for a bounce. And I would be surprised, if Bitcoin were to come down here, test this area potentially as low as 48K and just keep going without some type of bounce from here. But I certainly wouldn't try to buy this around 53K just because we do have this wick down here as well. Okay, so personally, this is a target right now of mine at the moment. Below that is 48K. What we get down here in this area is going to dictate what we get next. But again, there is no guarantee that we get 53K. Let's wait and see what sets up here if we get 53K, and then we'll go from there. But when you look at the weekly though, I mean, for Bitcoin, really, you can see why this area down here around 48K is going to be a must hold for this market, right? This region down here, you really don't want to see Bitcoin getting below this area on the higher time frames because that could represent a breakdown of this move, really the entire move that we've seen for the most of 2024. All right, so that's what I'm looking at next, guys. Basically, as long as the market stays below, as long as Bitcoin stays below this trend line up here, so let's call it 61,400 or so, as long as it's below this area here and we get up close below 57.5, that's going to be the trigger, in my opinion, for a move down there toward 53, potentially as low as 48K. Subscribe to the channel and click that bell for notifications. Don't forget to join us in VIP. Claim your 90% off lifetime access. See the link in the description of this video, or if you're on the website, click on that join VIP link. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again next week.